gather round and listen closely. In this explainer, I'm taking on the rather heavy mantle of a weary prophet, because I need to guide you through a truly dark, epic tale. We are looking squarely at the inevitable, fiery collapse of Valhalla. Now, you should know right off the bat, this isn't your standard, triumphant, heroic myth. No, this is a grim, gothic fable of gods and flames. It's a deep dive into the absolute twilight of divine power. So brace yourselves as we explore a narrative where ultimate strength is tragically turned against itself.
The roots are poisoned. The light is fading. The fire waits. I want you to just let that sink in for a second, as we plunge into the silent, creeping decay of the great world ash tree, Yggdrasil, and consider this a fair warning. This myth is essentially a dark mirror reflecting the brittle, doomed systems of our own making. It really forces us to ask, what exactly happens when the very foundations we rely on are rotting from the inside out?
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the roots of ruin and the archetype cipher.
So before the world quite literally goes up in flames, we need to understand the players trapped in this cosmic theater. The High German figures of Richard Wagner's Ring Cycle actually map perfectly to the ancient Norse gods. It's like a giant puzzle, charting out a tragedy where each player is completely bound to their predictable domain. You've got Donar mapped to raw elemental nature, Wotan tied to diplomatic law, and Loge embodying illusion and living fire.
To truly wrap our heads around this gothic fable, we absolutely must contrast these two titans. On one side, we have Wotan's fragile law. He has this desperate, almost pathetic reliance on diplomatic treaties, political compromises, and these little runes carved into his spear just to maintain cosmic balance. But on the other side, we have Donar's violent nature. Donar, who is very much like his Norse equivalent Thor, is raw, unchecked elemental power. He despises the quiet decay of the world and just craves a sweeping tempest. He wants a true kingly crash to wipe the slate entirely clean.
You can practically feel the bitter tension here, right? Listen to this direct clash. Wotan is desperately defending his failing systems, shouting, "The law binds the world." But Donar just sneers at these political half-measures, replying, "Bonds are but brittle. The truth is the thunder." See, Donar doesn't want to neatly avoid the apocalypse through diplomacy. He wants to take a hammer to the corrupt foundations entirely.
Now witness how this internal political crumbling of the gods' alliances perfectly mirrors the silent physical decay of Yggdrasil itself. It happens in 4 stages. First, Goldlust poisons the roots from the bottom up. Second, because of this deep corruption, Wotan's treaties become wavering and bogged down. Third, Fro, the god of spring, starts to tremble as the light literally fades from their realm. And finally, the ultimate symbol of their connection to the world, the Rainbow Bridge, begins to crack.
And the threat isn't just an inside job either. The creeping forces of destruction are actively closing in. You've got the legendary Fimbulwinter biting at the horizon. Giants are rumbling out in the east, and the slow-moving venom of the nibbling dwarf is seeping right through the weakening halls of the divine. The end isn't just some distant prophecy anymore. It is literally at their doorstep.
But wait, here's where it gets truly sinister. The real architect of their psychological downfall is an entirely different beast altogether. Enter Lutgard. Lutgard is a primordial entity known as the living fire and shadow. Think of him as a philosophical arsonist. He combines the cynical, mercurial intelligence of Wagner's Loge with the reality-warping, illusion-weaving malice of the Norse giant Utgarda Loki. Lutgard doesn't just want to burn flesh. No. He waits in the shadows, laughing, ready to distort perception and actually turn a warrior's own incredible strength against himself.
Which brings us to the first of our 4 parables. Act 1, the Flicker's Flattery.
You know, the apocalypse doesn't usually start with a bang. It starts with a whisper in the smoke. Lutgard dances in the shadow of Donar's great stone hammer. Just listen to the rhythm of this malice. Lurking the log fire, leaping in laughter, shadows are shaping shame for the god. Fierce is the flicker, feeding the fury, blinding the brawler blinded by blood. Lutgard is whispering illusions right into the smoke, feeding the thunder god's desperate desire for a clean, violent purge. He's basically flattering Donar's rage, winding him up for the kill.
Moving right along into Act 2, the Phantom Feast.
See, Lutgard isn't just about burning things down. He is a master of distorting reality. Mirroring ancient magical deceit, he projects these phantom enemies from the dark corners of the Great Hall. Mocking the master, mocker of might, vain is the vapor, vanishing fast. Striking the shadow, shattering stone, wasting the weapon, weary the wrist.
It is the ultimate tragic irony of having all that brute force, but absolutely no clarity. Donar is exhausting his immense strength, swinging at empty air, shattering mere stone and shadow to fight phantom giants that don't even exist. His own mighty power is brilliantly and cruelly weaponized against him, while our philosophical arsonist just kicks back and watches the show.
And that sets the stage for Act 3, The Sender's Contract.
While Valhalla's greatest defender is physically gassing himself out, the trickster is watching the very ideological foundation crumble. Lutgard knows the dark truth the gods refuse to see. Creeping in ash heaps, cold is the craft, runes are but rubbish, ruin is ripe, flames are the fetters binding the brave, burning the balance, burying all. He knows that Darnar's rebellion against Wotan's fragile treaties isn't actually a solution. Actually, scratch that, it's worse than not being a solution. It's just another predetermined spark serving the fire's bottomless hunger.
This right here is the ultimate breaking point. You can hear Wotan's desperate, wavering plea, "We must preserve the balance." And it's immediately met with Donar's grim determination. "Your runes are rubbish, old man. I will smash these corrupt foundations." Donar truly believes he is shattering the shadows of a decaying system, entirely unaware that he is just feeding the flames.
The Earth Goddess and prophetess Erda predicted this inevitable fall a long time ago. So, stepping into her shoes for a moment, I have to ask you, do we not also build fragile treaties that we naively expect to outlast the fire? When the metaphorical Fimble winter bites at the edges of your own life, do you trust the systems and rules you've built, or do you, like Donar, suddenly crave the storm?
Finally, we reach the end. Act 4, The Twilight's Tinder.
This is it, the ultimate, horrifying collapse of the whole divine order. As Donar finally prepares his world-shattering tempest, fully ready to bring down the hall on his own terms, Lutgard transforms into a massive, choking wall of smoke. Gleaming the wildfire, glutting the gloom, tinder is thunder, tearing the roof, sparking the spiral, swallowed in soot, sinking in silence, smothered in night.
And honestly, this is the sheer evil genius of Lutgard's malice. The cynical arsonist doesn't try to fight the storm. No, he uses it. The living fire feeds on the very oxygen of the thunder god's final raging tempest. By trying to aggressively cleanse the world with a violent storm, Donar is literally fanning the flames, ensuring Valhalla is completely, utterly smothered in night. As we wrap up this explainer and watch the twilight of the gods fade to black, we really have to look away from the myth and back into the mirror. Look at the cinders of our own worlds, our own fragile laws, and our own violent natures. I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. When the ashes finally settle on your own predictable roles and all the illusions burn away, what truth will outlast the fire?